Hello! Welcome to part 3 of the story of John Paton, Missionary to Vanuatu. Remember where we left John Paton yesterday? He and his wife had finally made it to the island of Tanna. But life was not easy there on the island of Tanna. In fact, as we saw yesterday, stealing was one of the things that the people there loved to do, and they stole many of John's belongings. Not only did they steal, they fought. They would kill each other and eat each other, and they even tried to kill John. And then, John and his wife were often sick. In fact, his wife Mary and his brand new baby boy Peter died shortly after arriving on the island of Tanna. Now John was all alone, and there was a war starting. I will try to stop the fighting, John decided, for he knew Psalm 56:3. He said, "When I am afraid, I will put my trust in you, Lord." And John knew he could trust God wherever he went. So, he and a few of his new island friends started walking through the thick jungle. His friends were afraid, but John prayed. He said, "Dear Father, please protect us, guide us, and help us to know what to do." Well, suddenly they came to a big clearing, and when they looked around, there was many people and a big feast. Suddenly, when they saw John, they grabbed their weapons as if they were going to kill him. But he calmly walked in front of them and said, "Hello to all my men and women of Tanna. I am your friend. My love to you. I have come to tell you about the one true God." An old chief took John's hand and said, "Come, sit down here beside me." John followed him over and sat down. "If you sit here, they will not be afraid." And after John talked with them for a while, the warrior said, "We will stop the fighting." The people gave John gifts, and John gave them gifts. He even gave the chief a bright red shirt. Had God answered John's prayer? Yes, he had. But there were still many dangers for John. One day, as John was working in the yard of his mission house, he looked up to see a gun pointing straight at him. The chief was pointing the gun at him. What should he do? He continued to work on the garden. The chief continued to aim the gun at him. "I am your friend," he said. I want to help you." The chief continued to follow John for 4 more hours, pointing the gun at him many times. John continued to pray while he worked, and finally the chief left him alone. John had church services with the Nationals, but they had no church building, so one day John decided, "I think God wants us to build a church." So then they decided where they should build it, and they started digging a foundation. All of a sudden, one of the men was digging a foundation. He stopped. All the men around him were terrified. What do you think it was? "It's a stone god," said one as he pointed to the large round stone. "Human sacrifices have been offered on it." All the men were very afraid of the stone idol. A witch doctor tried to come and take it away, but John wouldn't let him. He said, "I want to prove that the true and living God is more powerful than all these false gods." After 3 months, the church was finally finished. Oh, it was so beautiful. The people were so proud of God's house. On the island, there were 3 witch doctors that terrified the people. They claimed they could kill someone by casting a spell on a piece of fruit they had bitten into. And then, after taking that piece of fruit, they would cast the spell and the person would die. One day, as John was preaching to a great crowd, he saw these witch doctors. They stood to their feet in the midst of the crowd. They said, "We will kill you." John thought, here's my opportunity to prove that the living God is more powerful than these witch doctors. he saw a woman in the crowd. She had a basket of plums. He took 3 of the plums. He took a bite into each of them. Then he handed them over to the 3 witch doctors. He said, "I dare you to kill me," as he handed them the 3 plums. "Oh no," thought the people. "Surely their missionary friend would die." The witch doctors took these plums and went to one of their sacred trees. They began casting spells on them, by chanting, moaning, and dancing. To show them how foolish it was, John cried out, "Be quick! Stir up your gods! I'm not dead yet!" "We must." After a long time, the witch doctor said, "We must go get other friends of ours to help us. But just wait. By next Sunday, you'll be dead." "Good," said John. "But if I'm still alive and well, you will know that the true and living God is strong, and that your gods have no power over me, for I am protected by the true and living God." All that week, John could hear the drums beat. He knew the witch doctors were busy with their black magic. Now early Sunday morning, John hurried to the village. A great crowd had gathered to see what was going to happen. When they saw John safe and strong and healthy, they couldn't believe their eyes. All their lives, they had been afraid of these witch doctors, but now they saw the power of the one true God. One of the witch doctors came to John and said, "We have failed. Your God is stronger than our gods. He has kept you safe." Then John said in a loud voice, "This is true. Jesus Christ is stronger than all of your gods. He protected me. He is the only true and living God. Listen to me, and I will tell you how you can know the true and living God." 2 of the witch doctors sat down with John and listened, but the 3rd one got up with his long spear. He danced around the group wildly, trying to get close enough to John to hurt him, but the people circled around John to protect him. One evening, John was sitting in his house, studying, when he heard a knock on the door. A Christian national stood outside. "Missy, I have come from the other side of the island," he told John. "Your missionary friend there is out of flour for making bread." "Oh, I must get flour to him at once," thought John, for he knew it was one of the only sources of food they had. But it would not be easy going across the island, for there was a big war going on between the tribes, and he would be killed if he tried to go that way. And going in the sea was too dangerous in a small canoe. But in the morning, John talked Chief Nowar and his men into going with him to the other side of the island in the canoe. John filled a big stone jug with flour and then put a round stone on top of it and tied it all securely so it would be safe. Then they got in the canoe and paddled. "Can you help paddle?" They guided the canoe closer and closer to the shore, as close as they dare do. They were soaking wet from the spray. Strong arms pushed the paddles in and out of the water. Waves from the sea got higher and higher, and soon everyone was soaking wet from the spray. The canoe tipped from side to side, almost toppling them into the water. "We won't go any further," cried the tribesmen. "But we must go on," John said. "Wait," cried one of them. "Here's a small wave. Let us carry it to shore." "We'll ride it." The wave picked up the canoe and shoved it toward the shore. But then, halfway through, the wave broke on Coral Reef, and everyone was dumped into the sea except John, who couldn't swim. He clung to the side of the canoe, and he prayed hard. Would John drown? How would he get to shore? Would the flour be all right? You're going to have to come back later to find out.